Hello, it's Saturday the 10th of November, and in this video I'm just looking at last night's result on the Thunderball. I'm going to analyse it, tell you all the outstanding coincidences that made these numbers predictable, and then I'm going to predict some more numbers for tonight's draw. So the machine used was Excalibur 6, set of balls 6, and these are the numbers that came out. So nobody won the jackpot, and this is my analysis. So the green numbers are the ones that were most frequent, purple ones are the ones that were most overdue for the frequency, and the blue ones are the ones that were most overdue. The ones on the bottom lines in each block, they're the Thunderballs. So just looking at the Thunderballs then, you can see that Thunderball number 3 was most frequent with all machines and sets of balls. Also most frequent with the two machines that are in use at the moment, and it was also most frequent with main number 20. It was most overdue for its frequency with number 27, most frequent with 31, and the current trend machines most overdue for its frequency with 37, and most frequent with 37 and set of ball 6. So looking at the main numbers, so you can see that Thunderball number 3 was most outstanding because it was most frequent. And then when we look at the main numbers that stand out with Thunderball number 3, you can see that going on the current trend, which is machines 5 and 6 and sets of balls 5, 6, 7 and 8, when we look at a chart for those machines and sets of balls, it turns out that main number 20 was the most frequent number. And then when we look at a chart for number 20 going on the current trend, it turns out that number 37 was most overdue. And when we look at machine 6, it turns out that number 27 was most overdue for its frequency, and 27 points back to 20 being most overdue for its frequency. And then when we look at 37, you can see that going on the 4 sets of balls that are currently being used, 31 was the most frequent. So when we look at 31 and we look at the current trend, then 17 was most frequent, and looking at 17, that points to 31 and 20. So all the numbers could have been predicted if we'd started with Thunderball number 3, gone from there to main number 20. That led to 37 and 27. That also led to 31 and 17. So that's all the numbers that could have been predicted. So I'll just show you some of the charts that these numbers correspond to. So at the moment I'm looking at all the draws where, well, all the draws since the main numbers went up to 39 up until just before the last draw, and the analyzer picks up that Thunderball number 3 was most frequent. So these are the main numbers, and if we go over here to the right, these are the Thunderball numbers, and there's Thunderball number 3. So you can see it's occurred 114 times. It's the most frequent Thunderball since the numbers went up to 39. And so, looking at a chart for number 3, Thunderball number 3. So these are all the draws where Thunderball number 3 is being used. You can ignore the Thunderballs. And we're just looking at the main numbers. So the most overdue main number was number 10, and if we look at the current trend, which is, as you can see, machines 5 and 6 and sets of balls 5, 6, 7 and 8, that's the current trend. So if we narrow it down to that, now it's a little bit slow because there's actually about 10 million equations on this spreadsheet, so that slows it down quite a lot. There we go, 10 million calculations done, and it turns out that number 20 is most frequent. So this is the chart on which you can see that number 20 was most frequent. Now these are the numbers that I predicted in the last draw. I'll come back to those in a moment, but for now we don't need to see them. Anyway, let's see where the winning numbers were on this chart then. So there's number 20, and the others are lined up neatly in sort of in the middle. And then so we've got number 3, then we'll look at number 20 and we get that one from number 3. So if we now look at a chart for number 20, so number 20, current trend, we should see 37 most overdue on that. So number 20, current trend, and there it is, number 37, most overdue. Let's see where the other winning numbers were on that chart then. That's where they were. So number 37 stood out as being the most overdue. Now the analyzer is telling us that if we look at all sets of balls and the machine that was used, which was machine 6, then we should see number 27 most overdue for its frequency. So let's have a look at that one then. So there it is, there's number 27, and the way we calculate which one's most overdue for its frequency is by measuring the vertical component and the horizontal component and multiplying them together, and then counting the number of squares. 13 times 6, that works out at 78. So that's the biggest number that we can get from measuring in this way on this chart, and it turns out number 27 was the one that stood out the most. So I could have predicted it by looking at that. So 37, if we have a look at that one, and the current trend sets of balls. So I'll just have a look at that chart. So 37, all machines, and just the 4 sets of balls that are being used at the moment produces a chart that looks like this. and there's number 31. It's occurred 13 times with 37 and one of these 4 sets of balls since the numbers went up to 39, which makes it the most frequent number on this chart. So we could have predicted 37, and now we could have predicted 31. And the last number, 17, which is the only one that I got. In fact, actually, that chart looks quite interesting. Let's just show where the winning numbers were on that. Yeah, look at that, 20 and 17, both on the edge of the chart, to occur with 37. So that's quite interesting. That means when we measure this number, they scored quite high in terms of how overdue they were for the frequencies. So to predict 17, we would have had to look at the chart for 31 and the current trend. So if we do that, 31, machines 5 and 6, and we should see the number furthest to the right is 17. And there it is, 17 has occurred 8 times with number 31, and either one of these 2 machines or 4 sets of balls since the numbers went up to 39. So could have predicted 17 from that, and that's all the numbers. So that concludes my analysis of that draw. Now I noticed something interesting on here. See, I looked at the previous draw, 2, 3, 3, 5, and it looked like that. And then I wondered what it would look like if I looked at all the draws, including the most recent draw. And I noticed that it all turns green. That's interesting. And then looking at the latest draw, if I do the same with that, then what happens is oh look, it's all turned green again. So could it be something about the winning numbers in each draw that makes it all turn green afterwards? Green means most frequent, by the way, so let's have a look at another draw then. 2, 3, 3, 1. And we're looking at the full draw history at the moment. Look at that, it's all green now. Isn't that interesting? See, once the winning numbers have come out, if you look at the same numbers coming out again, it all goes green. They're all most frequent. All the coincidences change to going from overdue or most overdue for frequency to being just most frequent. So I wonder if it's the same for any draw. I mean, these are all the outstanding numbers, but when you look at previously drawn numbers, it makes it all go green. That seems kind of interesting. But anyway, never mind that. What I'm going to do then is show you my predictions. So we're looking at the full draw history now. There's been 2,336 draws altogether, and this is the analysis for all machines and sets of balls, current trend machines, current trend balls, and current trend machines and sets of balls. So looking at this, you can see that going on the current trend, number 28 is the most overdue. It's also most overdue for its frequency, and the same with the sets of balls. So let's have a look at the chart for the current trend, now that the winning numbers came out in the last draw. So this is what the chart for the main numbers looks like now, and you can see that number 28 is at the top of that chart. The most frequent one is 21. The one that's most overdue for its frequency is also 28, because this is the largest area. So if you compare that area to this area, it's still 28 that's the most overdue for its frequency, even though number 6 is closer to that top right corner. So 28 is my favourite at the moment, so I'm going to pick 28. Now I noticed 21's most frequent with 28 as well, so I'll just show you what that looks like. So if I do a chart for draws where 28's come out, see where all the numbers are, you can see there's 21 most frequent with 28. 17 is still most overdue for its frequency to occur with 28. That's why I picked 17 in the last draw, and that's the only number that I got. So it could still come out again in the next draw. I mean, if we look at the gap chart for 17, then it looks like this. So the current gap is 1. There's the 1 right on the left where it should be, because the frequencies are reversed on this chart. So I don't think that number 1 needs to go further to those, so maybe 17 is not actually all that much of a good choice now that it's come out in the last draw. But anyway, I think I'll definitely pick 28. The easiest number to get is probably the Thunderball, because the odds of getting the Thunderball are 1 in 14. See, these are all the odds. You can check that if you want. I've calculated it correctly, I've made sure it all adds up. So anyway, back to the chart. These are the Thunderballs then on the right, and I'm looking at only the draws where main number 28 has come out, and the one that stands out with 28 is Thunderball number 9, and I think that's probably one of the slowest Thunderballs when we're looking at, see, it's one of the slowest ones when we're looking at all of them. At the moment, on the current trend, Thunderball number 11 is most overdue for its frequency, which is why I picked number 11 as the Thunderball for my numbers in the last draw. So you can see on the analyzer it comes up 3 times. So looks like a good choice. So I think that's enough coincidences on there. So I think the next step would be to ignore these numbers now and just pick numbers from these columns. So numbers that stand out with Thunderball number 11 and main number 28. So looking at main number 28, you can see that 24 stands out a lot. So does 32 as being most frequent. That also stands out with 11. So anyway, I'll just show you the numbers that I picked last time, and you'll see the possible reasons why I pick them because if I pick these numbers and then look at all the coincidences, that's all the coincidences, so they look like a good set of numbers to pick. But out of all those I only got number 17. I don't think I'll pick that one again for the next draw. So you can see number 30 is most frequent, and it's also most overdue for its frequency on the current trend machines with Thunderball 11. So let's have a look at each machine then. So when we're looking at machine 5, these are the numbers that stand out. And when we look at machine 6, the numbers that stand out are these ones. So instead of 17, maybe I'll go for 24 because it stands out with 28. So then the coincidences that we'll get from that are these ones. So a lot of coincidences if those numbers came out. So what I'll do is I'll just have a look at each possible machine and ball set combination to show you all the coincidences that would occur if these numbers came out. So if it was machine 5 and set 5, then 24 and 28 would stand out together quite well, and also Thunderball 11 comes up a lot, especially with 24 and 30. If it was set ball 6, then 13 would be most frequent, and it'd be the same with 28. So with set 7 we get these coincidences. And that's what it looks like for set balls 8. So moving on then to machine 6. So I'm not really getting many coincidences in the column under number 12, but 24 and 28, a lot of coincidences there. Now, it could be any combination of machine and set of balls, and so far it looks like these numbers that I've picked generally have a lot of coincidences. So machine 6, set 5, a lot of coincidences on that one. So 24 and 28 are looking strong together, so I'm going to pick those. I'm not sure about number 12 though. Let's see what other options there are instead of number 12. So 12's most overdue with 13 when we're looking at all machines and all sets of balls. So the other numbers that stand out are basically all these numbers. If I had to guess which set of balls it's going to be, you can see we've had 5, 6 and 8 quite a lot of times. We haven't had set 7 since draw 2, 3, 2, 7, so that's 9 draws ago, and it seems to have been mostly machine 6 recently, so I think maybe it's time for machine 5 and set 7. Seems like the most likely because they've not been used as much as the other sets. So if it was machine 5 and set 7 in the next draw, then looks like maybe some of these numbers, like 23 for example. See what coincidences we get from that instead of 12. So not much really, but I noticed Thunderball 11's most frequent with that one. So there's a lot of different numbers to choose from. In fact, main number 1 stands out with 13. So if I picked main number 1 and it happened to be machine 5 set 7, then we get these coincidences, which looks a bit better than before. So I think I'll have these numbers. So for tonight's draw, Saturday the 10th of November, these are the numbers that I'm picking for tonight's draw. So that's how I pick my numbers, using a spreadsheet that's got 10 million equations in it. So if you win anything, or if these videos help you to pick your numbers, let me know in the comments. It'd be nice to hear from you if you're watching, if anybody's actually watching these videos. So anyway, looking at the current trend, this is what the main number chart looks like, and over here on the right, this is what the Thunderball numbers look like at the moment. So that's all the Thunderballs and all the main numbers together on one chart. So I hope that helps you to win some money in tonight's draw. Good luck with that. Look out for the next video, and bye for now.